पुरुषं तमहं भजामि आनन्दचिन्मय रसप्रतिभाविताभिर्ताभिर्य एव निजरूपतया कलाभिः गोलोक एव निवसत्यखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि।
Hello, Vinaji, Hare Krishna. Can you hear, Vinaji? Okay, we'll read. So the translation. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Golok, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidants, Sakhis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and utilized by his ever blissful spiritual trance. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Shyam Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Rinaji, can you hear us?
Yes, Bhaiya. Hare Krishna everyone. I'm late today.
All right. So we'll continue reading Shlok 10, right, which is actually 5.37. So Brahma-Samhita has 60 shloks, and from 29 to 60 is Lord Brahma's prayers. So we are on 37. And we read, so those, there are like 64 artistic activities possessed by ecstatic potency of a spiritual figure, Lord Krishna. And that is Srimati Radharani with her gopis, with all the Sakhis. So residing in Golok, as we see, Golok eva niva satya khilatma bhuto, along with Tabhirya eva nij rupataya kalabhi. So Tabhi and Kalabhis are all the gopis. Nij rupataya is his potency, Srimati Radharani, and Ananda Chinmay sar pratibhavita bhis. So permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual ras. So this is, I think, the longest purport in any of the shloks, and we will start from 51. So let's start from 50. Ravi, would you start?
Yes. Pushpa, Shakalita, Nirmati, Jana, art of knowing, prediction by heavenly voice, or knowing preparation of toy carts by flowers. Yantra Makarata, art of mechanics. Dharana Maktra, art of use of amulets. Savansya, art of conversation. Manasi Kavya, Kriya, art of composing words mentally. Kriya Kalapa, art of designing a literary work of medical remedy. Chilkatya, yoga art of practicing as a builder of shinings for after him. Abhidhya Kosa Choka Jana, art of the use of xylography and meters. Vastra Gopana, art of concealment of clothes. Dutya Vishya, art of knowing specific gambling. Raksa Krida, art of playing with dice and or magnet. Balaka Krida Naka, art of using children's toy. Vainaki Vidya, art of enforcing discipline. Vijayaki Vidya, art of gaining victory. Vaitiliki Vidya, art of awakening masters with music at dawn.
Thank you, Ravi. Rina
Hare
ji.
Krishna.
All these arts manifesting their own eternal forms are ever visible in the region of Goloka as the ingredients of Ras, and in the mundane sphere, they have been unstintedly exhibited in the pastimes of Vraj by the spiritual Chit, potency, Yog Maya. So, Sri Rupa says, Sadanantaya Santita, which is Krishna is ever manifest in his beauty with his infinite pastime in Goloka. Sometimes the variant manifestation of those pastimes becomes visible on the mundane plane. Sri Hari, the Supreme Lord, also manifests his pastimes of birth, etc., accompanied by all his paraphernalia. Paraphernalia. The divine sportive potency fills the hearts of his paraphernalia with appropriate spiritual sentiments in conformity with the will of Krishna. Those pastimes that manifest themselves on the mundane plane are his visible pastimes. All those very pastimes exist in their non-visible form in Goloka beyond the ken of mundane knowledge.
Yeah. So in his visible pastime, Krishna sojourns in Gokul, Mathura and Dwarka. Those pastimes that are non-visible in those three places are visible in the spiritual sides of Vrindavana.
Hare Krishna.
प्रभु जी आप पढ़ेंगे?
मैं पढ़ूं? From the conclusions just started, it is clear that there is no distinction between the visible and non-visible pastimes. The Absol Jiva Goswami in his commentary on this sloka, as well as in the gloss of Ujjwal Nilmani and in the Krishna Sandarbha, remarked that the visible pastime of Krishna are the creation of his chit, yani spiritual potency, being in the conjunction with the reference to the mundane function. They exhibit certain features which seems to be true by the influence of the limiting potency, that is Maya, but this cannot exist in the transcendental reality. Transcendental reality.
Yeah.
The hidden.
Keep going, Prabhu.
The destruction of demons, illicit paramourship, birth, etc. are the examples of the peculiarity. The gopi are the extensions of the ecstatic energy of Krishna and so are exceptionally his own. How can there be illicit connection in their case? The illicit mistressship of the gopi found in his visual pastime is but the mundane reflection of the transcendental realities.
Continue कर इस paragraph को.
There are
the hidden
transcendental reality. The hidden meaning कहाँ गई? There are some who, being unable to understand the drift of his statements, give meaning of their own innovation and invention and indulge in useless controversies. Sri Rupa and Sanatan say that there is no real and essential distinction between the Leelas, visible and non-visible. The only distinction lies in this, that one is manifest in the mundane sphere, whereas the other is not so. In the supermundane manifestation, there is absolute purity in the seer and the seen. A particularly fortunate person, when he is coerced by Krishna, can shake off worldly shackles and connections, enter the transcendental region after attaining the realized taste of the varieties of rasa that is available during the period of no white no vitiate. Only such a person can have a view and taste of the perfect and absolutely pure Leela of Goloka. Such respective nature are rarely to be found. He who exists in the mundane sphere can also realize the taste of Chit Rasa by the grace of Krishna. By being enabled to attain the realized state of service, such a person can have a view of pastime of Goloka manifested in the mundane Leela of Gokula. There is certainly a difference between these two classes of eligible seekers of the truth. Until one attains the perfectly transcendental state, he must be hampered by his lingering limitation in his vision of the pastime of Goloka. Again, the vision of the transcendental reality varies according to the degree of self-realization. The vision of Goloka must vary accordingly.
Thank you,
It
Prabhuji.
is only those.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Ravi, आप पढ़ोगे?
It is only those fatted souls who are excessively addicted to the worldliness that are devoid of devotional eye. Of them, some are enmeshed by the variegatedness of the degulling energy, while others aspire after self-annihilation under the influence of centrifugal knowledge. Though they might have a view of mundanely manifested pastimes of Supreme Lord, they can have only a material conception of their visible pastimes. This conception being devoid of transcendental reality. Hence, the realization of Goloka appears in the proportion to the eligibility due to the degree of one's self-realization. The underlying principle is this, that though Goloka is as holy and free from the dross as Goloka, still it is manifested on the mundane plane by influence of Chit potency. Yoga Maya, invisible and non-visible matters of transcendental regions, there is no impurity, contamination, and imperfection inherent in the world of limitation. Only there is some difference in the matter of realization in proportion to self-realization of the seekers after the absolute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Reena ji?
Impurity, unwholesomeness, foreign elements, illusion, nuisance, unholiness, utter inadequacy, insignificance, grossness. These appertain to the eye, intellect, mind, and ego, stultified by the material nature of the conditioned souls. They have nothing to do with the essential nature of the transcendence. The more one is free from these blots, the more is one capable of realizing the unqualified absolute. The truth who has been revealed by the scriptures is free from dross, but the realizations of the seekers of the knowledge of these realities are with or without flaw in accordance with the degree of their individual realization. Those 64 arts that have been enumerated above do in reality exist unstintedly only in Goloka. Unwholesomeness, insignificance, grossness are found in those arts in accordance with the degree of self-realization on the part of aspirants after the knowledge of the Absolute. According to Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan, all those pastimes that have been visible in Gokul exist in all purity and free from all tinge of limitation in Goloka. So transcendental, autocratic, paramountship also exists in Goloka in inconceivable purity judged by the same standard and reasoning. All manifestation by the Chek potency, Yogamaya are pure. So, as the above paramountship is the creation of Yogamaya, it is necessarily free from all contamination and appertains to the absolute reality. You want me to continue, Bhaiya? Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
or
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Let's pause to consider what the absolute reality is in himself. Sri Rupa Goswami says, Purvokt Sarata. In regard to those slokas, Sripad Jiv Goswami, after mature deliberation, has established the transcendental paramountship as Vibram Vilas, something seemingly different from what it appears to be. Such are the pastimes of birth, etc., accomplished by Yog Maya. By the explanation, Tathapi Vrij Vanitanam, Srila Jiv Goswami has expressed his profound implication. Joyous pastimes by the medium of seeming error, Vibhrama Vilas, as the contrivance of Yog Maya, has also been admitted in the concluding statements of Rupa and Sanatana. Still, since Sripad Jiv Goswami has established the identity of Golok with Gokul, it must be admitted that there is transcendental reality underlying all the pastimes of Gokul. A husband is one who binds oneself in wedlock with a girl, while a paramour is one who, in order to win another wife's love by means of love, crosses the conventions of morality by the impulse of the sentiment that regards a love as the be-all and end-all of existence. In Golok, there is no such function at all as that of the habitual relationship. Hence, there is no husbandhood characterized by such connection. On the other hand, since the gopis who are self-supported, real entities, are not tied to anybody else in wedlock, they cannot also have a state of concubinage. There can also be no separate entities in the forms of swakya, conjugal, and prakya, adulterous states. In the visible pastimes on the mundane plane, the function in the form of the nuptial relationship is found to exist. Krishna is beyond the scope of that function. Hence, the said function of the circle of all love is contrived by Yog Maya. Krishna tastes the transcendental rasa, akin to paramourship, by overstepping that function. प्रभु जी आप पढ़ोगे शिक्षा प्रभु जी
These pastimes of going beyond the pale of the apparent moral function manifested by Yoga Maya is, however, also observable only on the mundane plane by the eye that is enwrapped by the mundane covering. But there is really no such levity in the pastime of Krishna. the rasa of Paramarship is certainly the extracted essence of all the rasas. If it be said it does not exist in Goloka, it would be highly depreciatory to Goloka. It is not the fact that there is no supremely wholesome tasting of rasa in the supremely excellent realm of Goloka. Krishna, the fountainhead of all avtaras, tastes the same in a distinct form in Goloka and in other distinct form in Goloka. Therefore, in spite of the seeming appearance to the mundane eyes of outstepping the bounds of the legitimate function by the forms of paramourship, there must be present the truth of it in some form even in Goloka. आत्मा रामोप्य आरी आरिर्मात् आत्मया अवरुद्धः सौरथ रेम व्रज सुंदरभीर यत हर भक्तः यत यत हर भकः प्रतिभा में भाविता मह and other texts of the scriptures go to the show that self delightedness is the essential distinctive quality of Krishna himself. Krishna in his majestic chief realm caused the manifestation of his own chief potency as Lakshmi and enjoy her as his own wedded consort. As this feeling of wedded consorthood preponderates their rasa expand in the wholesome form only up to the state of servanthood, dasya rasa. But in the Goloka, he divides up his chief potency into thousands of gopi and internally engages in amorous pastime with them by forgetting the sentiments of ownership. By the sometimes of ownership, cannot be the extreme inaccessibility of the rasa. So the gopis have naturally from eternity the innate sentiment of being others' wedded wives. Krishna too in response to the sentiment by assuming the reciprocal sentiment of paramourship performs the ras and the other amorous pastime with the aid of the flute. His favorite Chir Ami Goloka is the transcendental seat of eternally self-realized rasa. Beyond limited conception, hence in Goloka there is realization of the sentimental assumption of the rasa of paramourship.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Ravi? Ravi, would you read?
Yes. Again, such is the nature of principle of majesty that in the realm of Vaikuntha there is no ras of parental affection towards the source of all the avatars. But in Goloka, the seat of all the super excellent deliciousness, there is no more than the original sentimental egoistic assumption of the same ras. There, Nanda and Yashoda are visibly present, but there is no occurrence of birth. For want of the occurrence of birth, the assumed egoistic sentiment of the parental affection of Nand and Yashoda has no foundation in actual existence of such entities as father and mother, but it is of the nature of sentimental assumption on their parts. uh, Jayati Jana Nivaso Devaki Jananama Vadha, extra. For the purpose of realization of the ras, the assumed egoistic sentiments is, however, eternal in the ras of amorous love if the corresponding egoistic sentiments of concubinage and paramountship be mere eternal assumption, there is nothing to blame in them and is also does not go against the scriptures. When those transcendental entities of Goloka become manifest in Vajra, then those two egoistic sentiments become somewhat more parallel to the mundane view in the phenomenal world. And there comes to be this much difference only. In the ras of parental affection, the sentiments of Nanda and Yashoda that they are parents become manifest in the most tangible form in the pastimes of the birth extra. And in the amorous ras, the corresponding sentiments of concubinage in the respective gopis become manifest in the form of their marriages with Abhimanyu, Govardhana, etc. In the reality, there is no such separate entity as husbandhood of the gopis either in Goloka or in Gokula. Hence, the Shastra declared that there is no sexual union of gopis with their husbands. It is also for the same reason that the authorized teacher of the principle of rasa, Sri Rupa, writes that in the transcendental amorous ras, the hero is of two different types, viz. The wedded husband and the paramount patis. Kopa litits site prabhadeva is vishvata iti. Shri Jiva, in his commentary by his words, Path Purva Vanitatamnam Divyato Vajra Vanitam, acknowledges the eternal paramountship of Krishna in Gokula and Gokulam, Goloka and Gokulam, and the husbandhood of Krishna in Vaikuntha and Dwarka, etc. In the Lord of Gokula and the Lord of Goloka and Gokula, the characters of paramountship is found in its complete form. Krishna deliberate overstepping of his own quality of self-delightedness is caused by the desire of the union with the another's wedded wife. The state of being another's wedded wife is nothing but the corresponding assumed sentiment on the part of the gopis. In reality, there have no husband with independent and separate existence. Still, their very egoistic sentiment makes them have the nature of the wedded wives of others. So all the characteristics which that desire makes the paramount works overstep the bounds of the duty extra are eternally present in the seat of all the deliciousness. In Vajra, there were that very thing, reversal itself, to an extent in the form more tangible to person with mundane eyes.
Thank you, Ravi.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think it's quite long purport. Let me see. Let's read one more paragraph. Reena ji, aap padhenge?
Yeah. So in Goloka, there is inconceivable distinction and non-distinction between the rasas analogues to mundane concubineship and wifehood. It may be said with equal truth that there is no distinction in Goloka between the two, as also that there is such distinction. The essence of paramountship is the cessation of ownership, and the abeyance of ownership is the enjoyment of his own potency in the shape of abeyance of paramourship or enjoyment without the sanction of wedlock. The conjunction of the two exists there as one ras accommodating both varieties. In Gokula, it is really the same with the difference that it produces a different impression on observers belonging to the mundane plane. In Govinda, the hero of Goloka, there exists both husbandhood and paramourship above all piety and impiety and free from all grossness. Such is also the case with the hero of Gokul, although there is a distinction in realization caused by Yogmaya. If it be urged that what is manifested by Yogmaya is the highest truth being the creation of the Chit potency, and that, therefore, the impression of paramourship is also really true. The reply is that there may exist an impression of analog sentimental egoism in the testing of ras, free from any offense because it is not without a basis in truth. But the unwholesome impression that is produced in the mundane judgment is offensive and as such cannot exist in the pure Chit realm. In fact, Sripad Jeev Goswami has come to the true conclusion, and at the same time, the finding of the opposing party is also inconceivably true. It is the vain empirical wranglings about wedded wifehood and concubinage which is false and full of specious verbosity. Verbosity. He who goes through he who goes through the commentaries of Sripad Jiva Goswami and those of the opposing party with an impartial judgment cannot maintain his attitude of protest engendered by any real doubt. What the unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Lord says it all true and is independent of any consideration of unwholesome pros and cons. There is, however, the element of mystery in their verbal controversies. Those whose judgment is made of mundane stuff, being unable to enter into the spirit of the all-loving controversies among pure devotees due to their own want of unalloyed devotion, are apt to impute to the devotees their own defects of the partisanship and opposing views. Commenting on the shlok of Ras Panchadhyaya Gopinam Tat Patinam Cha, etc. What Sripad Sanatan Goswami has stated conclusively in his Vaishnava Tosani has been accepted with reverence by the true devotee Sripad Vishwanath Chakravarti without any protest. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, I think so far, even including Bhagavad Gita and this one, this is one of the longest purport we have encountered, right?
Mhm.
And I think the reason for this is one, Sripad Jeev Goswami and Sripad Sanatan Goswami, they are going at great lengths to describe, the Golok Dham and Gokul Dham. And that's why it's so complex and so much in detail. So we still have, let's see, only one paragraph remaining, I think. So what we will do is, I think tomorrow we will read this last paragraph and then conclude with summary of this. Prabhuji, I think then Prabhuji, you provide the summary of it tomorrow once we conclude this paragraph.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. I think we'll do that. And then I think after that, all the slokas are pretty simple and straightforward description of Lord Govind and Golok going forward. So, and today is Radha Ashtami. So what we will do is we'll listen to a Radha Ashtami bhajan. I know we are a little over time today, but for some reason we still have 6 more minutes left. So in Zoom, generally it's over in 40 minutes. So that's why we also end it. But we have 6 minutes, so let's hear Radha Ashtami bhajan since it's Radha Ashtami today. Okay, and then tomorrow we'll conclude, and then I think it'll be more of a normal speed after that. So let me. can see it, right?
This is very beautiful bhajan.
Yes, and this is also, this is the school which is run near Vrindavan.
Yes, yes,
in
yes.
China.
Yes.
And you know, all these, this is girls' school from all the villages. And I mean, I visited it in Vrindavan when I went in December there. Very nice. So we'll hear this bhajan. I'll also take a picture in between. Okay.
Radhe Kishori Daya